Captain Kidd, Part 2.
Many have dug for Kidd's treasure at Chabakui, Chebaquue Island, at Cherbaku Island, also Casco Bay, Maine, and at nearby Jewel Island. A Mr. Chase who lived on Jewel Island supposedly found some of it using a map that Captain Kidd's black servant had drawn out and given to him. Block Island, off Rhode Island, is also a favorite spot for the hunters of Kidd's treasure. There is a concrete evidence that Kidd did stop at Block Island, as he had at Gardner's Island, before he was confined to Boston jail. The list of island locations up and down the New England coast where Kidd supposedly buried his treasure seems endless. There is even a Captain Kidd's Island near Turner's Falls, Massachusetts, far inland and close to the Vermont border, where locals swear Captain Kidd hid his treasure. After all, they would tell you, how do you think the island got its name? Richard Knight of Britain, England, and Fred Graham of Belmont, California, went looking for Kidd's treasure off the coast of Vietnam in June of 1983. Knight told officials that he had a map gotten from my grandfather showing an island off Vietnam where Kidd hid his treasure. The young man went to the island of Pukkok, Phuquoc, Vietnam, and disappeared, believed to have been taken prisoners by the Vietcong. Captain Kidd's treasure fever is worldwide and as obsessive to treasure hunters today as it was back in the 18th and 19th century. Of course, not all of the places that are being pointed out and attributed to Captain Kidd are necessarily buried by Captain Kidd, but uh, it is very possible that those treasures were buried by other pirates. So Captain Kidd reports in one of his writings, he says, I left St. Thomas and set sail for Muna, Moona, which is an island between Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, where we met with a sloop called the St. Anthony, which is the same one as they call it San Antonio, bound for Montego from Curacao. Mr. William Bolton, merchant, and Samuel Ward, master. So it is interesting to note that William Bolton was an alias. The merchant owner of St. Anthony was Abraham Redwood, who lived on the island of Antigua and, like the Mullins family, picked up stakes after Kidd was captured and moved to settle permanently in Newport, Rhode Island. Again, one wonders, in Kidd's mysterious wheelings and dealings, if he purposely first landed at Antigua to make contact with Redwood, alias William Bolton, or was it, as Kidd indicates, just a fortunate chance meeting at Muna Island, where Kidd persuaded Bolton to rent the St. Anthony to him so that he might proceed to New England. Kidd says that I could not persuade my men to carry the quota merchant for New England, but 6 of them went and carried the chest and things on board 2 Dutch sloops bound for Curacao. The rest of the men not being able to bring the quota merchant prize to Boston. I secured her in a good safe harbor in some part of Hispaniola and left her in the possession of Mr. Henry Bolton of Antigua. The master, who was the master basically of that ship. 3 of the old men and 16 of the men that belonged to St. Anthony crew, with the brigantine belonging to a man named Bert of Curacao. Bert was also a notorious Caribbean pirate whose real name was Burke. I persuaded them to stay 3 months, said Kid, till I returned. And in the St. Anthony uh, made the best way to New York, where I heard that Earl of Belmont was in Boston and came thither. So there are many important events concerning Captain Kidd and St. Anthony coming up the East Coast to Boston, which Kidd purposely avoided in his testimony, that were brought out by crewmen and so-called friends during his pre-trial at Boston. There is no doubt that Kidd had transferred much of the treasure from Quetta Merchant to St. Anthony before he made his voyage up the coast, but how much is anybody's guess. Kidd, however, insisted that the bulk of the treasure remained in the Quetta Merchant, hidden in a river at Santo Domingo, and protected by some 20 men who await my return. The first known stop of the St. Anthony on her way to Boston was Lewes, Delaware, Lewes, Delaware, where Adventure Galley crewman James Gilman was put ashore with a big wooden chest. So another crewman testified. Next, Captain Kidd anchored in Oyster Bay, New York. Duncan Campbell, the Boston postmaster, who also owned a bookstore in town, was an old friend of Kidd's. At Belmont's request, he rode out of Boston with Emmett, and arrived at Rhode Island on Saturday, 17 June in the morning, and went in a sloop with Emmett towards Block Island. At about 3 leagues from that island, Campbell reports, I met a sloop commanded by Captain Kidd and having on board about 16 men. So right here you have documented Captain Kidd was at Block Island. Next, he went to Gardner's Island. Kidd anchored off Gardner's Island for almost a full week. John Gardner, owner of the island, also joined Captain Kidd offshore, and treasure chests were taken from Kidd's vessel to these smaller sloops. Several chests and packs were put out of Kidd's sloop at Gardner Island. Crewman Ed Davis reported to the governor on July 8th at Kidd's pretrial. We believed Kidd's goods were taken off by Karsten Lauriston and Hendrik Vanderhead near Gardner's Island. Members of the New York Governor's Council informed Belmont, a major select of Stamford, Connecticut, who has a warehouse close to the Sound, Belmont was informed, received at least 10,000 pounds worth of treasure brought by one Captain Thomas Clark from Kidd's sloop and lodged with Selleck. The governor was also told that old seaman Captain Knott of Boston delivered treasure to Kidd's old mate Captain Thomas Payne, now living in Connecticut Island, County Jamestown. Well, it's Jamestown, known as Jamestown at Rhode Island. And we know this bit of intelligence was true, for the treasure was discovered under his house, as we have just mentioned, in 1891. Thomas Way of Boston, in his sloop, met Kidd at Nantucket Shoals on June 30th, after leaving Gardner's Island. Ed Davis told the governor, and Kidd gave him bars of gold. Davis also testified on July 8th that 2 guns and other East India goods were left at Block Island. So Captain Kidd was arrested. He was placed under the house arrest for a day, then moved to the solitary confinement in the Boston Gaol. Belmont then had Kidd's vessel searched, but no treasure, only cloth and other merchandise was found. At Duncan Campbell's house, where Mrs. Kidd and the children were staying, Belmont's men uncovered 6 quart bags of gold and one containing silver, plus other loose money. And in Captain Kidd's box, they found 1/4 bag of gold dust and ingots, 53 silver bars, and quart bag filled with 442 ounces of silver pieces. There were also 4 diamonds set in gold, 1 diamond loose, 1 large diamond, gold ring, emerald, silver box, 67 rubies, and so on.